hit the deck, first to the floor, making every big play for the Celtics today. Tatum knocks it away, trying to get it, dives. What a play by Dave Coward. Watch him dive for the ball right here. Look at this hustle.
Wayne Spooney here for the First to the Floor podcast. I'm here with my guy, Jake Eisenberg. Jake, how's it going?
Mate, doing well. The Celtics are winning again. Our enemies are both improving and falling by the wayside, it feels like. But no, I'm good.
And far more importantly, no offense, Jake, we are here with Richard White, a.k.a. Rambling Wreck, the king of Celtics Twitter, I think, at this point. Mr. White, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on the show today.
So, yeah, thank you for joining us. And, you know, we were going to jump right into the C's, but there's been some huge NBA news today, like a lot of it. And probably far more importantly, my kid's daycare is closed for the next 2 weeks. So, you know, I'm struggling over here. Yeah, it's going to be a tough couple of weeks for me. But Terry Rozier traded to the enemy, maybe the worst team he could possibly be traded to, the Miami Heat, for a protected first round pick and Kyle Lowry, which, you know, basically just contract matching. So Mr. White, any concerns? Do you have some PTSD? Where are we going with that?
No, because I mean, I wasn't here when you know, Terry was here and everything. So you know, some of the history that some of the ex-Celtic players have built up with the fan base is pretty difficult to kind of overcome. So, I mean, for now, I mean, at least by Miami doing that, they can't get another player that's playing in the state of Tennessee. So, you know,
Yep.
So that's the different thing. So it's, you know, but you know, I saw online a lot of people like, you know, but that's the way NBA is. Somebody becomes available and somebody on a team that's not doing well goes to another team, and that's supposed to be the final straw. It's like Miami wasn't doing anything. They get Rozier, and now they're supposed to be favorites when the Celtics have, you know, pretty much, you know, 34-10. You know, if everybody's healthy, what does Rozier, you know, if everybody's there, what does Rozier have to do? Rozier's got to go against Drew, Derrick, or JB. Okay, so I mean, if he can
that's right.
More power to him, then he should be an all NBA player. I mean, that's, you know, basically what it comes down to. I mean, Hero's going to have to go against whoever doesn't guard that, or Derrick could be on Jimmy Butler again. That, you know, Miami seems to have PTSD when it comes to certain things. It's like, oh, Jimmy took care of Drew. Okay, so he did have a very good series against Drew, but he didn't have a very good series against Derrick. But, you know, so, you know, it's depends, you know, Missoula's not going to allow them to dictate who gets to cover who. Because you see, when the smart teams get to it, and if they can pick out a weak link, they're going to do it. AKA Luka and Kyrie last night, they just went over and over and over again because they didn't have Porzingis, so they couldn't run that mismatch. So they found the Jays against either one of Luka or Kyrie, and then that was like, it was over. So, I mean, I'm not concerned about what other teams do, and you know, like you mentioned, Milwaukee's getting a new coach, and you know, New York's going to be doing something. But if you're 9-2, you got to go a ways to get to number one. So no matter what changes you make on their end, you still got to get to the level. If those changes actually work, as you're saying, I mean, best case scenario, no team ever loses. But I mean, just because you get, you know, Milwaukee got Dame, they're not doing what they thought they would be when they got Dame. So it's all a matter of chemistry. It's all a matter of fit. I mean, when it came to the Celtics, everybody was worst case scenario. Oh, Porzingis isn't going to be able to do this. And Drew, he didn't have a good playoff series. And Derrick came from the Spurs. We never heard of him. But I mean, if you choose to look at it with that lens, then it all makes sense. But there's probably something that's going to be in the middle.
See, this is what we needed. We needed Mr. White to come on here. We got to say it with our chest. We're not scared, right? We're not scared of the Miami Heat. You know, this has really helped me personally. Like my PT, I felt like, so, you know, living in Australia, I'm a relatively early riser. I get up 6:30 a.m. usually, but I woke up at like 5:15, 5:20 a.m. and I could feel a disturbance in the force. I could tell. I woke up. I tried to look at my phone usually, but I was like, I can feel something's happened. Terry Rozier has absolutely a special place in my heart, and to see him go to the Heat is frustrating. I think it is an upgrade over Kyle Lowry, but it is important that like Kyle Lowry played pretty well against us in the conference finals. It doesn't seem to matter too much who the Heat kind of roll out there. But I mean, I think it's a nice move for the Heat. But yeah, the size of this Celtics team compared to the Heat, like heroes, you know, Hero Rozier, and then they go Hayward Highsmith or Jaime Jaquez, Jimmy and Bam, compared to the size of this team. That's, you know, I'm never gonna forget the devil magic and see Mr. White. You've only been through one Miami Heat series. We've gone through 3 wars in the past 4 years. So I've been beaten down.
Yeah,
we lost. Yeah,
He's
lost
got
2.
two. He's got 2. We won 1 in the finals.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because
but yeah,
I see that, and they're always talking, oh, we beat that, you know, in the back of my mind, I said, okay, you've had 2 series since Derrick's been there, and it's 7-7. So,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's not as good as what you think it is, and it's not as bleak as, you know, some of Celtic Twitter will think of it. But, you know, this is a whole new year. This is, you know, teams have thrown zones at the Celtics earlier this year, and they've done a lot better this year than before. You can stick Porzingis at the free throw line, and he can do like Jack Gibbons and just pop that shot all the time, and there's not a lot they can do. And then if you double and converge to him, then you've got you know, a disjointed defense trying to cover a slashing Jay. And then you know, when it comes to Miami, Derrick shoots very well against Miami, so
He does.
you're going to have him spotting up behind the 3-point.
Yeah, like earlier in the season, the first game.
Yeah, I mean,
because Derrick White's kind of become the
they
Heat
did
killer
win
here.
that. Yeah, yes. He does well against Dixon line. Atlanta, Charlotte, Miami.
That's right. All right. So, how about you, Spoonie? How are you feeling about the Rozier trade here?
Okay, so on the zone thing, the Celtics 5th most efficient offense against the zone this year per synergy. So yeah, absolutely dominating the zone. That's kind of what Miami befuddled us with over the last 2 series, really. So, and I think that a lot of that is Porzingis, who's one of the most efficient, you know, high post guys in the NBA. I do think it's an upgrade on Lowry. It's like a massive upgrade offensively on this version of Lowry. Probably like a pretty significant downgrade defensively too, though, because like Lowry's super annoying. Like he just like gets his hand into you. Like he's, you know, Jimmy Butler gets his hand into like the Jays handle, and when they get to like the high post area, stuff like that. But he also takes a bunch of charges. Terry Rozier ain't taking a charge. Like that ain't happening. No. And he's like, for all his athleticism, he's not like a great on-ball defender. Like we saw it when he was at the Celtics, where it seems like he should be a great on-ball guy, and he's just not. So I do think it's like a minor upgrade for the Heat. But I think they give up a lot in a playoff series on the defensive side of the ball, really.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, they're going to have to play zone because they won't be able to match up man to man, because the Porzingis thing is really going to be a big, huge thing. So depending on what they do, where do they put Bam? Because they only have one, like his handle, 1 of 1. They only have one Bam. So Bam is going to be where? And if Bam is not on Porzingis, that's problematic. If Bam is on Porzingis, then he's picking and popping, and then the Jays have nobody at the rim because, like you said, Lowry's gone, so there's no charge taken. Hero's not taking a charge. Duncan Robinson's not taking a charge. Their options are limited. But I mean, I get it. The fans have seen, Caleb Martin and those guys go off on whatever. Yeah. But
oh yeah, all right.
But the thing is, the last thing that I say is this team is different in the aspects of things that Miami could befuddle the Celtics with. This team, as currently right now, from what we've seen, if they play like this in the playoffs, that's not a real big issue with Miami, because Miami likes to do things based off of time in the shot clock. So like if we would get the ball to the Jays with seven seconds or left with the shot clock, have a defense that would trigger clocks going down. But we've seen a lot.
Oh, all right. I think
we lost Mr. White for a second here. Here, there we go. All right.
Here he is.
Okay. So like I was saying, it was like if you get to the point where you're getting it early, then the Miami can't use their voodoo magic. Miami can use the voodoo if you get down to less than 7 seconds on the shot clock.
Yeah, that's right. So look, the Devil Magic, it's our turn. They got their win last year. We didn't have, the Latvian legend in Porzingis, the zone buster. Yeah, having one Bam, very crucial. Especially now that we have Porzingis, that feels like one of the main reasons that Stevens went and got Porzingis is now zone switching defenses. That's no longer an issue anymore. You saw it against Houston. That was one of the first times we've seen them really just force feed Porzingis like that over and over and over again. It was every possession, I don't care who it is. Is it Dylan Brooks? Is it Jayson Tate? Which kind of reminds me of some of the defenders of the Heat, some sturdy guys, even Jimmy, sturdy, smart defender. Jimmy's 6'6", 6'7". Porzingis can shoot over that. 7'3", that's not going to be a problem. I don't care if you get a hand up. That's going to be money. And so that's definitely the X factor in that specific matchup. But the Heat still have bigger problems. If we're going to see the Heat, it's going to come at the earliest in the second round or in the conference finals again, just because of where they're placed in the standings. Still a little while to go. But we'll leave the Heat there, and we'll move on to our good friends at the Milwaukee Bucks. And I know the people in the chat, they want to see this first quickly.
Schadenfreude.
The Sixers.
Schadenfreude.
The Lakers.
Schadenfreude.
The Heat.
Schadenfreude.
Milwaukee Bucks.
Schadenfreude.
Warriors.
Schadenfreude.
All right. So we get the Terry Rozier news, and we feel like that's going to be the news of the day. And then out of nowhere, the Milwaukee Bucks have fired Adrian Griffin. And there was no whispers. I mean, obviously the Bucks, despite having a really good record, have felt like a house of cards to a lot of people that are really watching these games, mostly because of the defense and Dame struggling a little bit. But they still had their second best record in the East, one of the best records in the NBA. This is the best record after David Blatt ever of a coach that has been fired in season. This is to do this before the All-Star break is a really big call. So I'm trying to figure out if this is good or bad, because I think it's pretty clear that he was doing a lot of stuff that on defense in particular that people didn't agree with, and I think a lot of that has to do with the Bucks roster. But if they are able to get a good coach like a Kenny Atkinson, someone like that, that would potentially be an upgrade. But I'm not sure if Kenny Atkinson's going to turn Malik Beasley and Damian Lillard into a positive defensive backcourt, or Damian Lillard's going to help Damian Lillard shoot better than 42% from the field this year as a 33-year-old aging guard. But at the top of the list, old friend Doc Rivers, a Celtics champion, reported that he has been kind of a voice in the ear of Adrian Griffin throughout the season, which now feels kind of like an inside job. What was Doc angling all season long to get this job, and he was sabotaging Adrian Griffin the whole time with these schemes? I'm not too sure, but I don't know, Mr. White. How are we feeling about all this news today?
I mean, it doesn't really change anything. It's a new voice. They got to put in a whole new system. They have 39 games before the playoffs start to put in a brand new system. And, it's kind of like a cooking analogy. I mean, if you have low-cut meat, then I don't care if Bobby Flay is cooking. It's not going to make any difference. They have certain pieces. Do you want Giannis chasing around after, Jayson Tatum on the perimeter? Do you want Brook to be guarding Porzingis? And if so, then what Brook does best, which is block 3 to 6 shots a game, is null and void, because if he's there, he can't be out there where Horford and Porzingis are bombing away from 3. The guards are the antithesis of the Celtic guards. They don't keep people in front. You can post up Damian Lillard. You can beat them off the dribble, which is the bane of any defense, because then you're in rotation. And, all it takes is, if you make 2 smart passes, is the first guy rotates. Okay, we got that. But the second guy is iffy, and the third guy is non-existent. And then you're going to get wide open catch and shoot. Or if they're running around, you'll be able to attack a closeout and then get back to the rim. And then, Giannis and Lopez are outside of the paint, and, Jaylen Brown can go hammer away at the rim. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, yes, the season series is tied at 1-1, but that second game, it was like that they weren't there. I mean, it was almost like the one when Derrick was there and Derrick went and everybody else sat. I mean, because they were, it was that part of the season and they were tired, and they just kind of say, hey, we'll try this. I mean, that was, other than it being a national televised game, which the other one was too, but it was like there was no energy whatsoever. The Celtics didn't run any offense, so Milwaukee couldn't get a read on what to do. I mean, there's the closing lineup and the closing offense in the last 5 minutes. They never even showed any of what that was, and what they do usually in those periods is what will work against Milwaukee.
Yeah, and I think, like, I always look at everything through the lens of the Celtics, and like Joe Mazzulla takes his medicine every time this team loses. And the way Miami looked, like how discombobulated they looked defensively compared to how this team looks, it's like that's what a bad first-year coach looks like, is Adrian Griffin, right? And then, like, you look at how the Celtics looked even last year when Joe was put into an impossible position. Like, he's not a bad coach, and I think we all kind of can take that away as, like, if Brad Stevens thought he was a bad coach, he would have been gone January 23rd, 2023, right? Because they're not going to have this roster just lazily play through a season with a bad coach. And I kind of respect the Bucks brass for just like moving on quickly. I mean, if he's not the guy, move on, get somebody else. I'm not sure if that guy is Doc Rivers, who I think is a fantastic, like, personality coach. maybe not the best playoff coach, but like looking through the Celtics lens, it's like clearly Brad Stevens believes in Joe Mazzulla in a lot of ways. And like we've got an example of another team that is on the cusp of a championship, one of the favorites, and they've moved on. So I just think through that lens, it's kind of an interesting sort of dichotomy.
Yeah, I think, it's a great point, Spoonie. And I think a lot of this, the reports coming out today that Giannis was against Nick Nurse becoming the Bucks head coach. And that's kind of looking like a bit of a dodged bullet from a Celtics perspective. Obviously, he goes to the Sixers. But, I think, he could have been more dangerous with the Bucks who need more creativity given the roster that they do have as opposed to the Sixers where, they've got Maxey and Embiid, and they've got some more defensive pieces around them. Whereas, you got to find a way to get creative. Like Spoelstra, working some magic the way that he does with the Heat. The Bucks need a little bit of that. Whereas, and so you think like a lot of the philosophies and a lot of ideas that Adrian Griffin had, that the Bucks front office kind of had no choice but to be like, okay, this is Giannis's guy. Giannis can decide to not extend right now. We're kind of held over a barrel here. We kind of have to do what Giannis says. And one of the greatest things about Jayson Tatum is that he takes, he's hands off when it comes to coaching decisions, personnel decisions. He is lucky in the sense that Danny Ainge and Brad Stevens are some of the best ever coaches and GMs out there. So he hasn't needed to kind of put his finger on the scales. But Giannis so far, not exactly proving to be an awesome GM because Nick Nurse would have clearly been a better choice. And now it looks like the Bucks are in a bit of a tough spot because, changing coaches halfway through the season, implementing new philosophies, new schemes, it's really only ever worked a couple of times. And usually those exceptions involve peak LeBron James when Tyronn Lue took over from David Blatt.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Mr. White, we're going to jump. Oh, go ahead, please.
Yeah, the only thing was with the coaching and stuff is if you study history, it makes a little bit more sense. Because right now in 2024, everybody is glowing. Spoelstra is the best coach ever. When Spoelstra was in the same boat as Mazzulla, LeBron wanted him out. Riley said no, or else we're not even having this discussion. Right? I mean, Spoelstra is not Spoelstra. If LeBron got his way, Spoelstra would be doing video coordinating and all this other stuff. So I mean, that's how tenuous because 1 minute he's now he's the he's the greatest coach of all time, and 2 or 3 years into it, just like Joe Mazzulla, it wasn't there, and they wanted to get rid of him. So sometimes the transactions you don't make are the best ones for you going forward.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I've brought up the Spoelstra first season, LeBron trying to get rid of him multiple times in defense of Mazzulla. So I'm completely with you on that. But we're going to talk a little bit about the Mavs Celtics game quickly, but we have to jump into our ad read real quick, and then we'll be back.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit fanduel.com/Boston and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Jake, Mr. ASMR ad read, do you have a bet for us?
No, I don't have a bet coming up, but I have picked up, and I've been going to this. Anytime Porzingis is out on a back-to-back, do a same-game parlay with Al Horford, because that man just steps up every time he's out. 11 points, 9 rebounds, or 6 rebounds, 3 assists last night, and just chuck all the Al Horford stats together when Porzingis is out, and that's proved to be quite fruitful for me.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Al Horford's perfect. We will get to that in a little bit. But so obviously, Mavs, Celts were on, I think, in a fifth game in 7 days. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Obviously, a back-to-back with travel, Texas travel, so not that big of a deal. They probably took a bus over to Dallas. Tatum 39, Jaylen 34, Derrick White 6, but pretty impactful otherwise.
Always.
Drew 17. Drew was getting his threes up. He had 12
Yeah.
threes. And Horford, a tidy 11, 6, and 3. So, Mr. White, we want to know, has your opinion of the Jays changed this season from before Derrick got to the C's? And have you seen an evolution in them since he first started playing for them?
Yes, they've kind of overhauled their modus operandi. When they started the season, Jayson was big on getting everybody in the room, saying this is our goal. It's not any of the the individual awards, the distractions, the noise, and all those things, because there's other like one or two trick ponies in the league that are always going to score between 35 and 40 points a night because they can. I mean, anybody with the amount of talent could score 35 to 40 points a night if that's what you want. And then we saw last night, Cat scored 62 and they lost to Charlotte at home. So, you just, as far as the Jays, their willingness to get off of the ball, to accept a double team and pass early. Before, they would get the double team because they're good enough. They could break a lot of the double teams that they got, and then sometimes they can't. So so every time you do it, you say, well, I can do it again, and then that's when you kind of fall into the Miami 7 seconds or less trap. That's what they want. They want you to take it mono. So they've decided to swing the ball, which it keeps everybody alive. I mean, Derrick is spotting up over there. He knows the ball is going to come to him at certain spots. So it's just like muscle memory, and then your percentages go out. I mean, there are times before, where the ball doesn't come on time, on target, and then, you get it with like 1.5 seconds on the clock, and you have to rush your shot, and then your percentages go down. And then on another end was, JB saying he wanted to be all defense. I mean, he already got paid and everything, and some people, it's like, exhale, I made it. I don't have, I could just do what I did because you paid me what I did before. You didn't pay me for extra. I mean, I wasn't paid $300 million for defense but he's really stepped up on defense, which really makes the Celtics difficult, because now JB has one guard, Derrick has the other guard, and you got free safety Drew causing havoc because he doesn't really have a per se guy. And that's what makes the defense work, because you got basically, with five starters and Al. So it's like you have 5 guys on the floor that can do multiple things, and that's what makes the defense work. You have Porzingis guarding the rim. You have Al. I mean, sometimes it looks like, oh, Al's on a guard and he's getting beat or whatever, but he's given a good effort. He's staying in front for most of the time, and then that allows the Celtics to do stuff on the back end because Al is not completely getting blown by a guard or anything. So that's the big thing that changed from the Jays, because you always knew they could score, but it was like, the first year we got there, Tatum was first on the distributing the rock train, and now Jaylen's doing that and playing defense, and Tatum's playing defense. I mean, when you get those 6 guys and 5 of them are on the court, it's really competitive. I don't want to be the one that lets it down. So Drew's running around getting steals and deflections. Tatum got the block on Grant. Tatum got the one where I think Hardaway coming fourth quarter, he got that block and went down, and that pretty much sealed the deal. So, that's it. If you get to the point where everybody's pulling in the rope, where it's like, well, those guys are playing defense, I'll just conserve my energy. But it's like, no, those guys are playing defense. I don't want to be the one that messes it up.
Yeah, I think that's a really good call out because I think in particular Jaylen, but Tatum's absolutely guilty of this too. Is that we know that Jayson in particular can be one of the best wing defenders in the NBA. Jaylen, I thought specifically last year, definitely slipped a little bit on that end, and that is it's a rare thing. You get paid the biggest contract in NBA history, and instead of trying to prove it through getting up more shots, he's actually taking less shots, willing to try and make more, and also he's playing the best defense in his career, and it's like not particularly close whatsoever. And that was going to be one of my questions for you, is that the defense was technically ranked second overall in the NBA last year, but it definitely wasn't as consistent as it has been this year. Like, I think one of the most consistent things about this team is how every night, and that's why they won the Rockets game, while Jaylen and Jayson looked potentially like they had a late night in Houston, turning the ball over offensively, but they still brought it defensively, and that's what kept them all in the game. And Porzingis was able to take them home. And I've got a little clip here on the Mavs pick and roll defense. So you got Drew coming over the screen, and underrated defender Luke Cornett plays it well. And then you may recognize that that guy at the end here. He plays the lob perfectly, gets a hand in there, and the Celtics are able to go down the other end. But do you think that Jaylen really taking it to a new level? Because the consistency from a defensive perspective is really on a different level this year.
Yeah, I mean, before Jaylen, we'd watch, and then maybe 1.5 times the game, he'd get beat on backdoor cut. I mean, he does that to a lot of people, so it's kind of like, pressing teams like to be pressed. So he would get caught looking and get beat backdoor. Well, those numbers of backdoor cuts are way down. And even then, if they're up, the collective defensive IQ of the team is someone's there. It's not a straight line to the basket. You're going to have to meet somebody at the rim, even if you do get that backdoor cut.
Yeah, and first of all, Derrick coming over from the corner and breaking up a lob. There's not a lot of guards in the league who have that timing and that ability, so that's such an incredible play. And Luke is kind of getting underrated at this point. I was not a huge Luke guy going into the year, but I think he's been playing really well. And in that drop coverage against Luke v. Luka, he did a really good job. But we can't. And Mr. White, you can dodge this question if you want, but we can't talk about that game without talking about Grant Williams. I would say the reception for Grant was kind of icy. I didn't expect it because it seemed like the guys really liked him. But also I described him as the friend you love, but don't want to spend a 10-hour car ride with. So how they Tatum was going at Grant. He swatted that half court shot and was talking some stuff to Grant. So was that the reception you expected? And what is your perspective on the relationship with Grant and the other guys?
No, I mean, they're still friends. I mean, Derrick, at the end of the game, Derrick waited, and then they did their startup dance and stuff. So they still remember. But I mean, the big thing is that they did not want Grant to win, because then you would hear nonstop stuff. You would hear, Celtic Twitter likes to pregame come up with angst scenarios. Oh, Grant's going to make 50 threes. He's going to this. Well, I mean, sometimes they, don't listen or pay attention to those things, but I'm sure it probably got to him that, you really didn't want Grant going on Instagram Live, tooting his own horn because so from that perspective, they were going to play hard against him. They weren't going to give him, many open looks. He got that one layup. It kind of broke down the defense, and Luka came in and spoon-fed him an easy layup, and nobody was there. But all the other shots, they were like there, right? So he was like 0 for 7. So that's what they put their mind to it, to not let that person have that different thing. So and Grant's gonna be Grant, and he had that one where up JB. I don't know, because I was like in the second half, so I don't know exactly when that happened in the second half, but I don't know if that kind of lit a fire under JB, because he was torching people in the second half.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Yeah, JB, the Mavs don't have anybody to guard either of the Jays. It was very evident. But yeah, the Grant thing, Spoody, and we all have those friends. It's like, they're absolutely your friend. You love them, but they talk so much nonsense, and they can't beat you in FIFA. They can't bench more than you. They talk like they can. So I think that's probably what it was. It's like, Grant, we're not letting you beat us. There's just no way we're letting you beat us, which is very funny. That Grant has jumped Kyrie, I think, in the motivation revenge rankings for the Celtics. Before we move on, I just wanted to note this comment from Christine Ryan here. Mr. White, I took my 10-year-old to meet and greet your son and was so starstruck and froze. Your son went above and beyond with kindness to put him at ease and got him to smile. I thought that would just be a nice thing to hear as a dad, but I'm sure that's not very surprising to hear about Derrick.
No, but that's the compliments that we love. I mean, sure, he's done some pretty remarkable things on the basketball court, but if you get, parents and stuff, they come by and say, your son is doing this, and this. I mean, that's the greatest compliment a parent could get. I mean, you don't want to walk in and have them go the opposite and say that, your child is Dirk or something like that. So, that was really, really good. And we tried to, it doesn't take a lot. And, he's kind of growing into that as far as with the Celtics, that he could give just a little bit of something, and then people just feed off of it. They cheer for him. And all he does is sign some autographs, after he warms up, and, says hi to people. And, it's pretty easy to do, but sometimes not a lot of people do it.
Well, I like to hear that it's pretty easy to do, because I'm the father of a kid who's about to turn 3. So I hope he turns out half as good as Derrick at this point.
Yes, that's a great part. If we could all be more like Derrick White and the White family, I think we're all going to be on a good path here. So, very important question here. I'm sure it's difficult at this point to control Derrick. He probably hasn't had a curfew under your roof for a long time. But can you please enforce the rule that he is no longer allowed to go on the JJ Redick podcast? And why did you let him go back a second time?
No, he already made that. Oh yeah, I'm going back on stock there. So yeah, he went back on there. So. We just got back. We got him back.
Yeah.
So on Derrick's shooting, because that's kind of what the JJ Redick curse is all about.
You guys still there?
Oh yeah. Can you hear us? We good?
So we got a little bit of a delay.
Can you hear us, Mr. White? Can you hear us now? We good?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, on the JJ Redick curse, like Derrick's, I think, gotten over it at this point. And we're basically on like a year and a half of him being basically an elite 3-point shooter at this point. Like he was never bad as a shooter with the Spurs, but I think his role on the Celtics and some of the shots he's taking are shots he just never would have thought of even bothering to take on the Spurs. So, like, what do you credit that improvement to?
Just his confidence level, personally, his confidence level, as well as the confidence level that his teammates have in him. So a lot of these shots that you're seeing now was like college Derrick when he was the main go-to person. The pull-up, step-up threes, the come off a screen, hit the three. Those were all shots that I've seen him do before. And it was kind of like, well, why don't you do that in the NBA? And it's like, oh, well, there's so many other options, not that. But now it's like, you can see them actually run plays for him. When he first got there, he was kind of, the guy in the corner. If they got into a double team situation, they would do a kick out. Now it's like he's running, the UCLA cuts and cutting across the thing. And it's like, okay, when that comes, then it's like he is 1 or 1A option on that when he goes in motion on that. So, he knows he's going to get it if the defense shifts. But then again, he's running it off of Porzingis. He's running it off of Tatum. No matter how well he's shooting, he's third on the depth chart as far as, defensive awareness. So, I mean, you can't guard everybody, and that's what makes the Celtics offense run so efficiently because they really, truly don't care who scores. Sometimes, like you'll see during the game, it's like you don't have to force anything. You if you just run your offense, you're going to, the shot distribution is there. It's not, sometimes it changes, like the Houston game. Derrick and Porzingis had a lot more shots, because, it wasn't necessarily a J day. And then last night wasn't necessarily Derrick's day and Porzingis was out and it was a J day. So, I mean, you have different things. Last year, the Miami curse or whatever, if they locked down the Jays, they didn't have an offense per se to generate anything. So, in game 7, Tatum's on a bum ankle, and then, they could concentrate on Brown and, it didn't go well. And then Derrick had a stretch where he brought it back and then he got hurt. So, so it was like, oh, if we just beaten the Nuggets, just beaten Miami. It's like, the team that would have showed up playing the Nuggets is not what you would have wanted. Because, JT would still be coming off his and Derrick would be down there. So, and Brogdon had the shoulder or whatever. So, they were pretty limited. So sometimes, you learn to live another day and hopefully this year they get back there again.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as Derrick continues to be aggressive, so obviously pass along the message from us is that this podcast and our giant audience is like, as long like to see him continue to fire away and like he's talked about, through Popovich and coming to Boston and like the knowing that he belongs and like the season that he's had this year, to see him blossom into a guy that like we were really confident and excited that he could be this year. From what we've seen as a Celtic as he gets more and more comfortable, even if it isn't necessarily an improvement, it's just a willingness to fire away in a way that he hasn't before. Like he's shooting 6.6 threes per game this season. That's the highest of his career. Actually, there was a year in San Antonio, 6.8, and he was 35% in that year as well. But to do it on 40% this year, like the Porzingis Derrick White pick and roll late in games. I mean, that's turning into just like when teams are collapsing in on that because of how dangerous it can be, and then Derrick's finding Jaylen and Jayson out of that into compromised defenses. I mean, it's so hard to stop these guys. So as long as Derrick can remain aggressive, that's the most important thing to us. And you can dodge this question, but the chat's asking me to ask. But obviously the Celtics weren't able to get and Derrick weren't able to agree to a contract extension. But can we dream of Derrick White's jersey going in the rafters one day?
I don't know. First thing is, get Derrick's jersey in the stores, because people are like, they're like DMing me, like, how do we get Derrick's jersey? We can't find it. It's not in the store or whatever. So yeah, we were there last week, and yeah, there weren't any jerseys in the stores. No, he's so
blasphemy.
I know, because people are always asking. They were asking me how to get, his Colorado jersey, and they don't have those, and then they didn't have, other jerseys. So, yeah. So I mean, it's going, and like you said, I don't really have to tell them to be confident, because we saw that last night. Because in the past, when he was 1 for 6, he'd have shut that down. He would not have taken another shot. So he took 6 more. So he made 1 for 6. So but he was still out there taking the shot. So people, sometimes you just have to, keep going. I mean, he took his shots early in the quarter, but then when they got down to, the crunch time, then it was pretty much the Jays. And so he could be aggressive, but then when it came to winning, it's like, well, this isn't really my night, but so we'll let somebody else carry, because him and Porzingis carried the night before. So
yeah, I mean, they absolutely dominated in Houston, and the Jays were going. I mean, when those two are like going off like that, sometimes you just got to step aside. So I totally get it. But so the Celtics had the audacity to lose their 10th game of the season after over half the season is over. I mean, how could they? So but you're very on Twitter, Mr. White, and I'm sure you see, which we absolutely love, which I'm sure you see the overreactions to when this team loses a game by 2 points to the defending champs.
That one hurt.
That one hurt, but also in the grand scheme of a season, kind of not a big deal. Are you surprised at how people react to this team? And do the guys in the locker room see that stuff?
I mean, they have to be aware of that. So, basically the Celtics they play 44 games. Their record is 34-30. So, I mean, that's basically what it is. Every loss is a referendum. Every loss is three times what it normally is. Oh, we lost to the Nuggets. Oh, well, they're the defending champs. Oh, I guess we can't win the championship because we lost to them. We hadn't lost. Oh, we lost to Charlotte, which was in overtime. Oh, we lost the game to Philadelphia. Oh, we got, boat raced against Milwaukee, but that was extenuating circumstances. That was the ultimate scheduled loss, and there was no way that the Bucks had rest. The Bucks could not lose that game. Their whole season, they could not lose that one, and so it's the one thing I don't know, and sometimes I have to check myself before I put stuff out there. Where some people just tweet and just let it go, and then and deal with the repercussions. I actually think about it, but I that it's disappointing that they lose. But they're 34-10. Everybody, all the other 29 teams are less than that. So yes, the whole league is flawed. So if everybody wanted to say the whole league is flawed, this team can't do this team can't do that, that's fine. But if you just want to single out, the Celtics are supposed to be the number one team, they can't lose. I mean, they're not the Warriors, they're not the Bulls, 72-10, and stuff like 73-9. I mean, but you don't have to be. You just need to win enough games to get the number one seed, get to the playoffs healthy, and then take it, for what it's worth. If we get to the playoffs with a high seed and everybody healthy, the odds are in their favor. Now, that doesn't guarantee that you're going to win because there are upsets. I mean, Buster Douglas beat Tyson, was it Virginia lost to a 16 seed? I mean, things do happen, but there's a lot of people on Twitter playing 14-game parlays to make trying to figure out how to make it so like the Celtics team isn't good. Just appreciate what they're doing. They're playing well. And, I saw somebody in there today, Griffin was let go, and it's like, oh, Brad, you should let Missoula go. It's like, Joe is fine. Joe is doing
awesome.
But I mean, when teams don't make shots, when teams don't defend, when they don't play with energy and force, they're going to look bad. And, the 34 times it worked, it's all the players, and the 10 times it didn't. Oh, Missoula didn't do this. He didn't put in this rotation. They're shooting too many threes. It was like they had to shoot threes. You realize the second highest shooting team that shoots threes is the Mavericks. So, I mean, and the other time that they did it was against Sacramento, and the two teams set a record pretty much for most combined threes. So you lose the math advantage if you don't take threes. I mean, it's one thing, and you're not guaranteed that if you take all the mid-rangers that you'll actually make them either.
Yeah, well, I would never play a 14-leg parlay. That's definitely not me.
Just 7.
The audience would love to know. I mean, if anyone was going to be the one to kiss Derrick White on the bald head that wasn't his wife or his family, I was hoping it was going to be me, but unfortunately, Porzingis has beaten me to the punch. What did you think of the beautiful moment between Kristaps and Derrick?
I mean, right. I didn't see it because we were.
Oh, you at the game?
We were at the game, and it was on the far end. So I mean, I could see him sitting down or whatever, but I didn't see that until later, and then I saw clips of that. But yeah, once Porzingis got traded here, and it was it's like Derrick is like, well, how do we get clips? Where does he want the ball, and how he could use that? I mean, Derrick's always done really well with pick and rolls with bigs who can set screens. I mean, he had LaMarcus Aldridge and all the good screen setter. Jakob Poeltl is an excellent screen setter. And Porzingis is a screen setter. I mean, a lot of people set screens, in air quotes, just because they think they're going to get the ball, and they slip and they do all the other things except put a body on the person guarding the ball.
Tatum.
So I mean, the minute you actually make contact, you're more apt to be open, because then Derrick's going to turn downhill and the defense is going to leave you, and then you're going to be wide open. So, that's the big thing, especially in the NBA today, where you see a lot of people, like going to kind of set a screen and slip. Al is awesome on screens, and sometimes I think the refs pick on him because, I mean, technically, if you want to call Al gets all these illegal screens, then Bam is in foul trouble every game.
Yeah, I think Bam, I mean, that guy, he hasn't set a legal screen, I don't think, since he's set foot in the
high
NBA.
school. Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Before we let you go, Mr. White, I know Spoonie's got a play for you that we'd love to get your reaction to. Just, go ahead.
Okay.
Spoonie.
If I can set the stage here, right? Like I said, I have a about to be 3-year-old Ben Vallis, the guy who started this podcast, who can't make it because he's traveling. And I think Jake probably going to be a dad sometime soon because he's married. So you're on the phone. I want to make sure you can see this play, but to set the stage, the Raptors game, I think it's 107-105. And I just want to like get your thought process while you're watching your son make a play like this. So let me know, make sure, can you see the play when I run it right now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Derrick's going to get the ball here. He's going to be defended by Gary Trent Jr. So when he gets it and he like loses the ball and spins around, what are you thinking as a father when he's got the ball in this position and he's like losing it?
Okay, so this is something that's happened actually before. Senior year on senior day, last game at CU, same spot. I mean, the college has the bench is a little up higher, but it was like the same spot. He got stuck, and the announcer goes, he's got a heave backbreaker. So he had done that exact same thing before in college. So when he got into that, I thought, here we go again. I didn't know he was going to make it, but I think they made that exact same shot before. And that's what you said, aggressive Derrick, because he would have gone in and maybe tried to do something, but nothing was really open at that thing because he can't get it to Sam because that's too long of a pass. So, and, he could have passed it to Jay, at the top. I think that's Drew, but that's true. That's logo. that's not his forte. So I seen him be aggressive. I seen him take it. And then, when it went in, it was like, that's exactly the same shot. So it's not something that he hasn't done before.
So when he's releasing it, what are you thinking in your head? Like, are you like concerned, or are you just thinking like, oh, it's just a regular season game, it doesn't matter?
No, I'd seen them work on that during the summer. When it came out, they worked on that, elbow extended three. So I've seen him, take it before. So, I had confidence in him. I mean, at that point in the season, he was shooting even better than he is now.
Yeah, he's been ridiculous, and like, especially the clutch shot making. I mean, he's a heat killer. I mean, the Toronto Raptors must hate Derrick White. He has just been just ridiculous in the clutch against those guys this year. But Mr. White, I mean, like, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing some insight on just basketball in general and Derrick White, and like, we love having you as part of Celtics Twitter. I mean, you and Dan Greenberg sharing the throne of Celtics Twitter is not something I think we all saw coming, but we're happy that that's the universe that we're living in.
No, I mean, that's awesome. If you get, just get data points out there, let people do what they may, I mean, you can have a dissenting or a opinion or mindset or whatever, but at least have it be factual based. If you can't put numbers to it, oh, well, they never make that. So never and always. The minute you say that, my ears perk up because you're not right.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the ATO stuff, people hating on Joe for that, and he's one of the best in the league. But we won't get into that. Mr. White, this was awesome. Thank you so much for spending an hour with us. We truly don't deserve it, but we appreciate it. Jake, buddy, as always, love your work. And first to the floor, Wayne Spooney, we are out of here.
I love the Celtics!